Guess what, guys? I'm back. You know, like I said, I hate this camera, but Joe was unable to make it tonight, and Pastor Mikey kind of put me on the spot.
So you got to sing?
No. I'm not going to sing. But I am going to give you what I hope to be an entertaining story. Because that's what kind of Joe does when he's up here. He gives you an entertaining story usually. So, my story tonight, the topic's going to be on faith. But I want you guys to kind of, we talked about this maybe outside just a few minutes ago about jumping out of a perfectly good airplane. Well, some of the people in here, I know Pastor Franco has done this before, but I want you to use your mind's eye for a minute while I talk to you. I want you to be able to kind of imagine what it is that I'm talking about here. I used to be in the 82nd Airborne Division, and what we did is we used to jump out of perfectly good airplanes. Now imagine that, jumping out of a perfectly good airplane, you know, at anywhere between 800 and 10,000 feet, depending on what you were doing. You had to have some faith in some things in order to do that. You had to have faith in the guy that packed your parachute. You had to have faith in the guy that ran the guide line that you hook your static line to. You got to have faith in the guy that did the JMPI, which stands for Jump Master Pre-Inspection. You got to have faith in him that he didn't miss something when he was checking out your equipment that would cause a malfunction while you were in the air. You had to have faith in the pilot that was flying the plane. You had to have faith that he was over the drop zone.
Especially at night.
Yeah, especially at night. But I can tell you right now, Sicily Drop Zone at Fort Bragg is 2 miles wide by about 8 miles long, 7 miles long. And I have seen a pilot miss Sicily Drop Zone. I don't know how he did it, but he dropped us in the trees. And it is no fun to drop in the trees out of an airplane. I can assure you that the branches, you're still falling 25 miles an hour or so when you come down. Those branches don't feel too good. So anyway, you got to have faith in the guy that packed the chutes. You got to have faith in the guy that's flying the plane. You got to have faith in the guy that's flying the plane behind you, that he's high enough or low enough to where he's not going to hit you when you jump out of the plane in front of you. You got to have faith in the jump master that's letting you go out the door. And then you got to sit there, and I had a guy that told me, he said, you know what, I'm not scared. It don't scare me to jump out of a plane. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm scared when I jump out of an airplane. Because you don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if I'd call it scared, but there's some apprehension and some fear. But this guy says he isn't scared. He isn't going to have any fear. He doesn't have anything. Well, I had just got out of Combat Lifesaver School, and basically all that did was get me at the end of the stick so that I could pick up all the broken people along the way after the jump. But anyway, I had gone through through the Combat Lifesaver course, and I reached over. They pack you in there. I don't know if you guys have ever seen a cargo plane, what it looks like. There's really no seats in there. It's just webbing. Just webbing. That's all it is. And they sit you in this webbing, and you got a 40-pound parachute on your back. You got a reserve chute that weighs about 10 pounds on your front. You got all your load-bearing equipment on with all your, you know, and we in the 82nd, we got to be fancy, you know. So we had the knives and the compasses, and like we really needed a compass to get off of Sicily Drop Zone. We've been on it 25 times that year. So you really didn't need a compass, but you look cool with it. So you got to have that on. You got your weapon strapped to your side. You got a rucksack that has to weigh at least 55 pounds or you can't jump out of the airplane. And so you're walking around like this, like you can barely walk. They sit you in this plane, and then they do what they call map of the earth for the next hour, hour and a half. That means the airplane, the pilots have to get their time, so they're mapping the earth for the next 15 minutes. So you got to have faith in him again, because now he's flying this far above the tree line so that he can stay under radar. You know, we're practicing real-time war, guys, because it is a real war out there, isn't it? So we're practicing this real war stuff. Well, I reached over during this time because normally we hua paratroopers, whenever we're doing this map of the earth, this is our time to go to sleep. Get a little rest, because you've done, anybody that knows anything about military jumping, in order to jump out of one perfectly good airplane, you got to go through 12 hours of pre-jump. You got to practice landing fall, you got to practice jump out of the airplane, you got to shoot. I mean, it's just all kinds of stuff you got to do to just for that 30 seconds of fun. But anyway, I reached over and I checked his pulse as we were flying, and he was beating about 60 beats a minute, which is really good for guys in shape, and we were all in shape. And he was beating about 60 beats a minute. And again, we went that hour and a half of that map of the earth. We went that hour and a half, and all of a sudden, you start hearing stuff start shuffle around. You see the Air Force guy get up and put on his harness. Now you got to start having faith again, because guess what he's getting ready to do? He's getting ready to open up the doors of this aircraft running, 125, 140 knots. He's getting ready to open the doors of this aircraft. Well, he does open the doors of the aircraft, guys, and then it starts, and your pants legs start blowing, and the wind starts blowing through your face, and all this adrenaline starts pumping through your veins. And my buddy, who said he wasn't scared, I reached over and checked his pulse. He was beating 120 beats a minute. He done doubled his heart rate, but he wasn't scared, guys. But anyway, the jump master stands up, and this is another guy who you have to put your faith in, but he stands up and starts giving airborne commands. And for Franco, this is probably going to bring back some memories for some of y'all. Just go along with me, because I like to entertain myself when I entertain you. But the jump master stands up, he says, "Outboard personnel, stand up." And he says, "Inboard personnel, stand up." And he's giving signs. Look up. Check equipment lines. Check equipment. And he's giving hand signals too, because during this whole time, you got 120 jumpers now going, woo! And jerking down on your static line. So everybody's jumping, you're pushing your buddy's pushing you, and that adrenaline's pumping. As you can see, my adrenaline's pumping up here tonight too, just telling the story. I'm going back through it. But you have the faith in the guys, and you stand up, hook up, check equipment. Now the jump master says, "Stand in the door." And I used to love that door position, because now you got 30 seconds in the door looking out the aircraft at the drop zone, or the trees that you're falling over or getting ready to fall over. So you're actually there. Colonels like Frank usually got those positions, but every now and then I'd do something good, like win PT for the company, and I'd get that door slot. So anyway, stand in the door. Now we got a 30-second sign, so he shows you 30 seconds. And then he says, all of a sudden you get a green light on the door, and you get a slap on your butt, and he says, "Go, go, go!" And then you start jumping out the door you go. So we had all that faith, guys, in what everybody thought was faith in people of the world and things of the world. But yet sometimes we can't have the faith like Abraham had with Isaac. The Lord came and told Abraham, and I think this is in Genesis 22. Since Mikey put me on the spot here, I'm trying to go from memory. Genesis 22:1, if I'm not mistaken, Mikey. I might have to look that up. But it's the story of Abraham and Isaac. And for a little background, Isaac was a firstborn son of Abraham. Well, it wasn't really his firstborn son, because he had a son with a concubine, but it was the firstborn son of the woman that he loved so much, Sarah. And God had promised Abraham that this son, Isaac, would be the one that carried on the generations of the Israelites. He would make Isaac's people as much as the sand and as many stars as in the sky. He was going to make Isaac have these people. But see, he come to him and told him, said, "Abraham, I want you to go to the mountain where I'm going to show you, and I want you to sacrifice your son for the sins of the world." Now think about that for a second, you mothers and fathers out there. I couldn't imagine. This is when I would probably start saying, "What do you mean? God, you already promised me. Devil, get behind me. You know, I would be questioning, is this really God telling me to kill my son? But see, Abraham didn't do that. Abraham didn't do that because he had the faith. Kind of like the faith I had in the people packing my parachute and the people flying the airplane. Had this faith, this strong faith. So he gets Abraham and loads him up. He gets his 2 servants, which would have been customary back then, because the servants would have been the ones that built the altar, and the servants would have been the one that killed the sacrifice, and the servants would have been the ones that did the work. But when they get a little ways away from the mountain and they can see the mountain, Abraham says to the servants, you 2 stay right here, while me and my son go up on the mountain and worship. And we will be back. Now that's the key term right there. The key words in Abraham's faith and in our faith is we will be back. Abraham never for 1 minute thought that God was going to not do what God said. Not one time did he do that. Abraham believed the whole time that even if he did go up on the altar and have to kill his son, that God was going to answer it and bring him back through resurrection. Because he had already promised him that he would have a son that would carry on the nations of Israel. But see, sometimes we can't even have the faith in the little things of the world. You know, we worry. We get worried about things. When all we have to do is have that little bit of faith and give it to God, and truly, honestly give it to God. Not give it to God and take it back, but give it to God and have the faith that Abraham had with Isaac. I couldn't imagine that. Honestly, telling you that today, couldn't imagine that. But anyway, I would ask that you have the faith one day, just 1/10 of the faith that Abraham had, and you would have a nice evening. So anyway, I don't know how entertaining that was. You got a little bit of airborne history there, and that was a cup of Joe for tonight from Pastor Gino.